Let's see, Viper with Lithuanians. And we're gonna have Yo, Aztecs, Vikings, Franks, Incas, Celts, Slavs. I'm not surprised that Yo picking Incas, he really likes the tower, and it's not necessarily about the real rush, but we could see that as well for Mr. Yo. Franks, Vikings, Aztecs, all of them are amazing civilizations. Slavs I think are a little bit underrated, but also good, and Celts, not the biggest fan, but they can work nicely. They have their moments, I would say. On the other side, Viper, Lithuanians, Mayans, Malians, Mongols, Berbers, Ethiopians. Viper is gonna be Ethiopians, one of the civs that have technically a 60% win rate, but they were rarely played, and I think that the difference between the seed of the winning and loser player in this row really tells you that Ethiopians, this is a very misleading 60%. Technically, they're not a bad civ, and basically, it all depends on your execution. There is a chance Viper is just gonna not use that, but there is a chance Viper has something planned with Ethiopians. And in an Archer war, Ethiopians can still be devastating. Like, for example, an Ethiopian fast thumbering and ballistics early crossbow push can be super, super lethal against any civilization. So technically, Ethiopians could be okay. I don't like them in the long run, but in like an early to mid Castle Age push, I can justify picking Ethiopians. Berbers are very underrated, one of the best civs, according to the stats here. So one of the unique things about Berbers is that when they won, the winning player seed was higher than or lower seeded than the opponent, which means that the weaker player won in these matchups. So I actually think that the drafts are rather balanced. I might say that Yo's draft is something I like a little bit more, just because he has a little bit better eco behind all of his civs, like Aztecs, Vikings, Franks also have a good eco, Slavs also have amazing eco, even Celts have a good persistent eco bonus, whereas for Ethiopians, Mongols, Malians, that's not that much true. So because of this, I'm actually going to say that I prefer Yo's draft, but Viper's draft isn't bad by any means. In fact, I think that Viper's draft is actually pretty good. It just depends on the way he approaches the games. And I can totally see Viper being just as efficient with his civs than Yo is with his own. So that basically is all right. So with that said and done, we are ready to jump into the first game over here between Mr. Yo and the Viper. So here it is. Viper is gonna play his casual yellow color. Mr. Yo is playing in blue, of course. And off we go for the third quarterfinals of King of Desert 3. We're going to have the Viper as Mongols in yellow on the right side. Left side is going to be Mr. Yo as Slavs in blue. So Slavs versus Mongols play super interesting to start with. I actually like the Mongol selection over here from Viper. Despite the fact that Mongols are relying very heavily on a lane to get some early eco advantage, they still are pretty much okay without that. They can have their hunt bonus for a fast feudal age, maybe even for archers. You don't necessarily have to go for scouts with a fast feudal. You can push in the deer rather easily, and then the Mangadai just give you so much advantage. The other thing is that Mongols are quite standard as a civilization. And that is actually extremely important. It appears that Viper is coming in here. Maybe he wants to lane. Remember, this is the top part of the bracket. Super strong players. Viper, Yo, Leary, and Hera. So even if Viper gets through here, he's going to have a tough opponent in the next one. Maybe even stronger than Mr. Yo. And indeed, Viper is going to lane. Now, this is a very, very hard lane to do. Yo is going to scout the elephant just in time. Viper comes in here. I think Yo can block this. Yo should be able to block this elephant. And maybe even Viper scout. not necessarily a big fan of Viper lane, but if he can pull this off, this could work nicely. It's a tricky one because the Elephant is quite slow chasing the Scout here. And in the meanwhile, Yo is just trying to block Viper's Scout. Viper is not super far away from Yo, by the way. So it is still possible to bring that back as the Elephant de-aggroes. There is a reason why, like, when I talked to Nikov, he said that he just feels like laming here is not really possible, and he might be right on that. Viper lost a lot of HP on that Scout, but you can tell that Viper very well knows that his opponent is not an easy opponent. In fact, he wanted to get an early advantage over Mr. Yo over here because he knows exactly that Mr. Yo could easily mean Viper's defeat in this tournament so far. So that is the second board in for Viper as well. At least he delayed Yo's Elephants a tiny bit because Yo was focused on trying to stop the lane. So Yo just brings in the first Elephant, whereas Viper already has the second one in and the first one finished. So looking at the bases real quick of the two players, we will have the gold safe for Viper. Berries are good. He's gonna be vulnerable from all directions. Doesn't really have a safe wood down at the back, but I think it's an okay base layout for a player like Viper. And Mongols, he is going to lame 2 sheep, which is nice. Not really the thing that Viper wanted, but 2 sheep is 2 sheep still. As looking at Mr. Yo's base, he's got some beautiful gold mines at the back and some stone as well, wood at the back. This gold mine is borderline. I think if you wall in front here, you are still fine. And overall, I think Yo's base is quite nice. You wall here. This is a long wall, but not an impossible wall. And it would secure so much ground at the back of your base that it's just something that I would totally understand being done. So Viper coming in here with a fast fuel. This is indeed 18 pop, super fast from the Viper. He basically sent all his villagers on hunt, didn't even bother with the berries at the beginning. Now pushes in the deer as well. Mr. Yo tries to get a hit on top of that Scout from Viper, unsuccessful at doing so. And now Viper is gonna have a barracks up. This looks like a Scout's build to me, just 8 on wood. And we are going to see Scouts from Viper. This could work from Yo or for Viper against Yo, because Yo's base is still wide open and it doesn't look like Yo is really bothering walling it off. He's gonna do the barracks right now. Technically, this is a very nice and compact wood line for Yo, so you can just add some palisades and be done with it. Same thing over here on the left side. So basically, I don't think that Viper will be able to capitalize on his faster feudal age by sniping any villagers here. It feels pretty much impossible to do, to be honest. So yeah, so much for that. Anyways, Viper opening up with a Spearman over here. He can squeeze in double bit-axe and horse collar. I have to say that I'm impressed by Viper's build order here. This is a super tight 19 pop Scouts build. Was it 19 or 18 pop? I don't actually pay attention, but whichever it was, it's a super fast feudal age, even for Mongols, and he can squeeze in making Spearman, Scouts, horse collar, and double bit-axe. That's actually huge. Whereas for Mr. Yo, he is up to feudal age, but no double bit-axe, no horse collar, so his eco isn't going to be that shiny, and Viper is already coming in. Yeah, 18 pop. So a super fast 18 pop Scouts build with, look at this. What matters is double bit-axe and horse collar. I don't know how Viper did this. I really have to rewatch the recorded game for this because 18 pop is a very, very, very tight Scouts build, even with Mongols. And the fact that he could squeeze out some Scouts, the fact that he could squeeze out the 2 eco upgrades, which matters the most. Usually when you go for a fast fuel here, your biggest weakness is that you cannot really get your eco upgrades in because you just don't have the resources for that. So this is an exceptionally good performance on Viper, even with Mongols, I would say. He's gonna push into the round, and this is so far looking like a very, very clean performance from the Snake. Mr. Yo will be fully walled, but remember that Viper can just keep up the pressure and slowly wall his base off. And what Viper could do now is potentially just consider going up to Castle Age if Yo isn't playing aggressive, because Yo seems like he's just sitting back chilling. Not a single scout made, just goes for Spearman defense. and he's adding a lot of farms himself. You might want to capitalize on the farm bonus of the Slavs here as well, and that's not a bad idea. Spearman defense against the scouts could work quite nicely. Viper dragging away one spearman to the left. Yo isn't taking the bait just yet. Spearmen from the Viper are coming in, but I think right side for Yo's base is going to be secured, and honestly Yo's defense here is pretty good. He's got 14 on food with the Slavic farming. With Horse Collar, his eco is still better than Viper's eco, so even though Viper got the Feud Lage in with all the eco upgrades, I think Yo is still in an acceptable position, and Yo is playing this very greedy. Now he's making the first scout only, but it was pretty much just defensive spearmen from him. Making a single scout, I think he expects Viper to be fully walled. Viper on the other hand invests a lot into the scouts. That is quite a significant food income invested in there. If Viper gets bloodlines, on the other hand, the Yo spearman might struggle at stopping that. As long as there is no bloodlines, I think the spearman here might be enough to defend, or at least lower the numbers enough for Yo to be able to defend. Yo sees the scouts coming in. Nice quick walls so far. And, oh, Viper is in. Viper is in here. Yo is going to have to pull all his spears. Viper is also bringing in his own spears. But this is still better for Mr. Yo. I believe pokes down 2 scouts from the Viper. And, as I said, this is just an even matchup of spears and scouts. But Yo's got the Slavic farming behind him. So, right now it's even scout fight. I don't think that Yo wants to take this fight here. He probably wants to save his scout HP. There's a low HP scout from the Viper. It's just 1-for-1 basically. Spearmen are chasing Spearmen across the desert as Wheelbarrow kicks in for Viper just yet. Let's see if he's gonna retask his villagers. I'm curious if Viper's gonna do that, because he definitely knows about the Wheelbarrow bug. Apparently nope. So for now, I think Yo's defense is nice here, and overall the Slavic farming is going to propel him to a rather faster castle age, or at least it should. But for whatever reason, Viper is again at 500 food. He's adding 18 villagers to food right now, only adding gold miners just now. So Viper might end up having a better castle age time. Don't ask me how that's possible. Don't ask me how it is possible that he had a better feudal age time, squeezed out all those upgrades, and then now he has better resources, despite the fact that he's against Khmer Slavic farming, and despite the fact that Viper invested a lot more into his scouts. Yo went for like 3 or 4 defensive scouts and a few spearmen. Viper went for the same amount of spearmen, but like 6-7 scouts. So the fact that Viper is gonna have a better castle age time here is super interesting. Maybe it's the fact that Yo added his villagers to gold a little bit too early. Like, he's gonna have a lot more gold than what he needs right now. The thing is that Mongols will actually be in a pretty good position against Slavs in early castle age, because Mongols can go for camels, something that the Slavs might struggle to deal with. Like, they can go pike or they can go monk, but that's it. So with that, that is castle age on the way from Mr. Yo. The difference is only 20 seconds, so at the end of the day this is rather even. And the Viper doesn't really have anything to deal with this right now, so he might lose that gate. He's still going to just drop a house here, and I think there is a pole side needed over here in between the wood line and the gold mine as well. But Viper actually is going to send one villager to repair, so this gate is not going down anytime soon. Viper still tries to get something out of those scouts. He's gonna have bloodlines and the foraging here, and most likely camos is the play. Scouts not really achieving anything. Yo is going to be fully walled and going for a double stable play, whereas for Viper that's a second stable as well. Yo knows that, so Yo, he cannot really go for pure knights for long. I think he will need to add... there's no overchop. There is no overchop from Mr. Yo. No, there is no overchop, okay. I just didn't see this tree being chopped down, but there could have been an overchop. Indeed, to answer that question on the chat, if you are against archers, you go for the armor upgrade. If you are against non-archers, you're just gonna go for forging, because forging allows you to kill spearmen faster, kill villagers faster. So yes, If there is no archers in the party, it is attack upgrade first. Also, forging benefits the pikeman as well, whereas scaleboarding armor does not. So, forging is universal for both your infantry and cavalry, whereas for the cavalry armor upgrade, that only applies to cavalry. So that's another reason why you are going for forging here. Anyways, that is double stable knight from Yo, indeed adding the monastery to get the conversions in, and the Viper is gonna open knights here, surprisingly. He could try to match the knight numbers of his opponent, but I don't think that's going to be super successful, because Khmer, or like Slavic farming at the end of the day, is still going to be a lot more efficient than the economy of Mongols. Viper, it might be worth pointing out, Viper does not have a safe stone right now, if I'm not mistaken. Which means that the Meng dies are just a distant dream for the Viper. He is adding knights, as it appears that Mr. Yo is going to add some pikemen here. Just a single barracks, but look at this. 3 TCs, monks, double stable knights, and pikemen. This is what Slavic farming can bring you. Whereas for Viper, he's going to be on double stables only, and double TCs as well. Does have a monastery himself. I really like how Yo preserved his scout numbers, which is going to be extremely important at sniping down monks. Viper also has 2 scouts left over from Dark Age, or from Feudal Age, to pick off the monks with. For now, Viper is gonna go for the eco upgrades. Yo didn't go for them just yet, so he's playing this one a little bit too greedy with 3 TCs, but no eco upgrades. So, Wheelbarrow just coming in, but he's gonna need Boso very fast. Heavy Plow, you might be able to wait a tiny bit with that, but Boso should be pretty important for Yo here. On the other hand, he is gonna look for an opening on the right side, and more importantly, try to push the middle with quite a lot of knights. Viper is looping around, but it's just a few knights. Yo should be able to wall behind this one. Indeed, here comes the house. 2 villagers are enough to make that, and now the pikeman should be able to deal with the cavalry. And there is still no overchop over here. Now there is. So Viper could technically run inside, but that TC could do a lot of damage. Yo is repairing for the time being, and now the pikemen are arriving, so I don't think that Viper can take that fight. Oh, indeed, they run inside. That overchop is very costly for Mr. Yo. It just happened right before Viper started moving there, so super unfortunate for Yo. But Yo does have 2 monks here. If Viper micros this right, he can pick off the monks with the light cav. Indeed, sends the scouts to one of the monks, gets 1 conversion in though. That's still okay for Yo, I think. Got 1 conversion. Would be nice for him to take down the light cav so the monks aren't getting picked off. Yo is already at 1 relic, which is helpful as well. And now those knights will be trapped over here with no hope of escaping. Or is there a hope? No, there is no hope. So they can just run around, annoy Mr. Yo. But speaking of annoying Mr. Yo, this I think is annoying Viper a lot more, because there is definitely a hole in between the blacks. I'm not sure if Viper saw this. He might have thought this is closed out, but I think if you really look closely, you can see there's a hole in between here. It's hard to see. It's very, very hard to see. But it is visible. But Viper was probably focused on other things, so he didn't see that. He's gonna be up with the 30 TC on the stone, but on the other hand, his wood line had to be evacuated, and now knights are inside his eco. Viper is going to be forced to mix in some camels in the party, but only just 1 right now. Viper with +1 attack, Mr. Yo with +1 attack as well, but goes for scale barding as well in a quick succession. And this is the moment where we could see Mr. Yo getting a battering ram in to try to ram down those stables. Tries to snipe a monk here. Nice micro from Viper, saving that monk for the time being. Viper tries to wall that one in so the knights cannot escape, and Yo will have to just settle with a trade here potentially. But here comes his siege push, and the Slavic siege push is again super strong to deal with. Yo is still without Boso, so his eco is not as good as Viper's is. He's behind by 4 villagers as well, and no heavy plow either, so this is definitely not a great one for Mr. Yo over here in terms of economy, but there's 2 monks going down. I think a few villagers might have been killed as well, but this is a cleanup from Viper. Yo does need to kill quite a lot of knights here if he wants to be successful with this push, but he's got a monk, he's got quite a lot of pikemen, he's got another monk coming up on the way, so he could still be fine. Viper is zooming in from the left side. Yo does not see him just yet. He's going to spot the army moving towards him very soon. He will try to get a conversion in on a camel, I believe, or they will just pass each other. I think Viper will divert a few forces indeed to try and pick off that Monk. Yo isn't reacting just yet. I think Yo wasn't paying attention here. He was probably fixing his eco. Because right now, he almost lost a Monk. There is a camel inside this stable. So that Mangonel could be bye-bye very soon. Indeed, this is not perfect micro from Yo here. Because he could lose that Mangonel. But the Battering Ram is in here. And there is no Siege Workshop defense from Viper to deal with this. So... because of this, Viper could lose his stables, and on the other hand, Yo has the pikeman here that can just deal with the knights, and so Viper can't take good engagements, and he is losing the stable here. A castle coming up here for Mangadai, so Viper is at that critical point where Mangadai will come in, and Slavs will definitely struggle to a certain extent against the Mangadai. Yo, I don't think he sees the castle. He sees the castle now, but I think it's too late now to stop that. And he's very, very heavy towards pikemen. So this is going to be a very tough one to handle for Mr. Yo from now on. Viper is going to take some losses. He pretty much loses the front of his base. But the Mangadai eventually will pay for their price. Yo is going to need... Yo cancelled scale boarding, by the way. He went for... Oh no, that's a converted knight. That's why. He's got scale boarding. So one thing that Yo could do is try to pressure the stone mine here. But this is so bad for Yo. He's sending in a Mangonel without defense, and he could just lose that. He could just lose that Mangonel over there. And that's so bad. He needs the pikeman here ASAP. And then he can pressure Viper's wood line and pretty much cripple Viper's eco. It's just one castle producing Mangadai, and that takes a lot of time. Mangadai is one of the units that trains so slow. Yo would also finish off these houses, so he can be a little bit more annoying against Viper. Mangonels are sniped down by Viper. Nice job from him. Extremely beautiful plays. So, really, Yo's micro in the recent moments weren't that great. Lost the Mangonels. On the other hand, Viper still has wood income over here. I think Viper is fine. Yo isn't able to push fast enough, and Viper will get his Mangadai numbers up high. Or is he? This is the stone mine of Viper, although now this position of Viper's base isn't really super important. Although there is the secondary gold mine, so it might be, to be honest, but I feel like this part of Viper's base is a little bit more important right now. Yo is gonna go for a super aggressive castle. One thing that this would do is pretty much corner Viper in here, and then Viper could lose a lot of villagers. A lot of Viper's eco is in this corner, and that's actually pretty bad for Viper. On the other hand, Viper can still expand to the right side, and there is the majority of the gold mines. This stone mine is gone, so one of the things I think Yo wanted to achieve with this castle is deny Viper's stone income, so Viper cannot go for additional castles and mass produce Mangadai. And if I'm not mistaken, Viper is sending these villagers out to try and look for a neutral stone mine. One of them is over here, the other one is over here. Viper sees this, and he's gonna drop a castle here as a second Mangadai factory. He will eventually get to this stone mine, I'm pretty sure. On the other hand, Viper is losing quite a lot of villagers, and he could lose TCs here as well, which hurts very, very badly right now. Yo, even taking Viper's secondary gold here with this forward, still the Mangadais will eventually prevail, because they can just raid Yo's eco to death. They can just run around and pick off villagers here, pick off villagers over here as well. Viper also sneaking a town center up here. Yo would not expect that one, I can tell you this much. So this forward here might still be okay. And I think Yo might notice there's a castle here because he saw the Mangadai coming from this direction. He even sees the castle, and he's gonna dive in. Or at least he could consider diving in. He cannot wait until Viper gets the Mangadai numbers up, because Viper still has the eco to get the Mangadai numbers up. So he needs to finish this game off fast by using the knights and pretty much just crippling Viper's eco. Viper, on the other hand, is definitely under pressure, you can see that. This is not a common sight to see in Viper's base. So this is far from ideal for Viper. A lot of idols for the snake right now. And that is again a lot of villagers killed. So Viper is losing the market, Viper is losing TCs here. He's gonna have a decent Mangadai number up, but Yo is going Imperial just like Viper is. And the thing here is that Viper needs the castles to produce Mangadai. Yo can produce Trebs, and you can just say, okay, I'm gonna use my knights as a meat shield and trap down your castles, trap down your base. And because of that, Yo is just having a much better chance of replenishing his army. He's gonna have a much easier way of adding a lot of military. Beautiful castle from Yo just before the Mangudai arrive to protect these gold mines. The map awareness from Yo is sick, and you can see why Viper tried to lay him at the beginning of the game. He knows Yo could be the player that removes him from this tournament. Also, Yo has quite a lot of battering rams here, so Cap Ram upgrade could really come in handy for Mr. Yoke fast, and he can start just rushing down buildings super fast. He does notice the TC, and he's immediately going to divert the battering rams to finish that one off as well. Viper, not in a great spot, I have to say. He's behind by 20 villagers. Imp time is okay, and Yo is still without Boso, but Yo is gonna have a much better chance at like mass producing military. So Yo will probably go up to like what, 30-40 cavaliers. He already has quite a lot. And on the other hand, Viper is gonna have a lot of trouble massing army because Mangudai train just so slow. He is gonna get this stone mine as expected, and he's gonna go for the other one as well. So he wants more and more castles for himself. But once again, Viper is gonna lose like 10 villagers over here as Cavalier Plate Barding and Conscription comes in immediately for Mr. Yo. The other thing that Viper might struggle with is gold control, because both of the neutral gold mines are over here, and he also lost one of his secondary gold mines. So Viper in fact has a little gold to work with. This is the gold mine that he has, and this is the gold mine that he has. So that's not really going to be great either for the Snake. There's a few Mangudais harassing Yo, but it's about harassment and it's about a good direct push. That's a lot of Mangudais to deal with, so Yo still needs to be careful with a lot of those knights being super weak. But Cavalier and Plate Barding is on the way, Cap Dram is on the way, and more importantly, this trap is on the way. And as I said, you can just use your knights as a meat shield and start trapping down those castles. It's still a little bit tricky as Viper comes in with Thumbring for those Mangudai. They are getting there, but still, Yo's gonna have a better chance of producing army here. And he could just swarm the map with Cavaliers and raid Viper's eco. I think the problem for Viper is going to be that he will not have the eco to mass Mangudai. Look at this. Yo is going to dive in, and he can just pretty much flood the map with Cavalier, force the Mangudai back whenever he feels like it, and set up the traps. Viper might try to snipe the trebuchets. I think he will have to, but simultaneously there's a push in the middle here from Yo with another castle. Yo is playing like a beast here. Viper, nice micro with the Mangudai, but the castle is slowly falling, and you don't have to be super efficient if you are Yo here. If you can finish that castle off, I think you will be happy. The cap drums are going down rather easily though. Yo is mixing in more and more light cap. Remember, Viper is not gonna have an infinite amount of gold, loses one castle, so I think this trade was still worth it for Yo. Because Yo idles a lot of villagers from Viper, and more importantly, Yo kills one castle from Viper. And Viper right now has just one castle left, one that is being trapped down, and Yo, like, if Viper pulls the Mangudais to deal with this trap, Yo is going to destroy his army. So Viper has to fight here. And Yo knows that this is a bad fight for him. This is a very bad fight for Mr. Yo because he's losing a lot. But it doesn't matter, because all this does is just delay Viper here and allow Yo to finish off this castle before Elite Mangudai would kick in. Yo is going to raid Viper's eco to death. Viper is down to 80 villagers, and indeed, Viper taps out. You can see that lame attempt being justified by the Viper because he knows Yo is going to be a very tough nut to crack. And indeed, that is game number 1 in the hands of Mr. Yo. There were some scary moments for him, but overall, the Slavic eco really gives the chance, and this is why every time I see Mongols, I'm saying that Mongols can be amazing if they get to Mangudai. But there is no guarantees that you're gonna get to Mangudai. And exactly this part of the game, like middle Castle Age to early Imperial, is the time period where Mongols might massively struggle against any civilization because they just don't have the Mangudai numbers and upgrades to really be efficient. And you really need that. You really need that over here. So I'm gonna restart my game preemptively once again because, as I said, I know, just to make sure we don't run into a game issue with spectating. And looking at the draft, we're going to cross out Mongols from Viper and Slavs from Yo. The final pick of Yo was Slavs. He's going to win a game with that. He still has Aztecs available. He still has Franks available. For Viper, I am not sure what he's planning. He definitely banned Chinese. Interesting. Not sure what to think about the Chinese ban here. Yo is just gonna ban Khmer, so he has the other farming civilization. Let's see what Viper plans here. Because Yo right now could go either way. I don't think that there's any tendency that we could spot here. Franks could be an idea, Celts could be an idea for Yo. Viper could go either way as well. I don't think that it's possible to estimate what either player is going to select here in the upcoming match, because like, both of these players have a very, very resilient playstyle, so they don't really get worried if they fall behind. Now, needless to say, this is still better, by far, for Mr. Yo, but Viper can easily come back in the next series or next game here. So let's see, I'm gonna open up the game, but there is no game just yet. They are getting ready to jump into game number 5. What game number 5? Game number 2. I'm getting tired here as well. You are probably going to see it on my, or hear it on my voice. I told you before that this is going to be a long, long day for me, so don't be surprised if you hear me being potato at casting. So, with that, we are, I think, ready for game number 3 or game number 2 over here. Indeed, here's the game. Let's go. Mr. Yo versus Viper, edition number 2. So, here it is. Let's take a look. We are going to swap sides. Viper in yellow as Malians. On the other side is going to be Mr. Yo playing as a Celt in blue. So as I said, I probably wouldn't have predicted Yo going for Celts here, but it's not unprecedented either. So I'm actually pretty satisfied with the Celtic pick of Mr. Yo. So let's see. What we have is berries at the back for Mr. Yo. Elephant at the back, as you would expect. His gold mine isn't really great, neither are his stone mines, so this is not a great map by Mr. Yo by any means. Other side, Viper with Malians in yellow. He's got an okay stone mine at the back, but the gold is exposed, berries are exposed. Not a great map for either player, but I think it's slightly better for Yo. Especially considering that Yo could consider voting to the edge of the map. It's not really a big deal for him. It takes some effort, but it would secure all the left side of Mr. Yo's base, and that would be super helpful. Other side for Viper, there is just no easy way to secure this gold mine. In fact, all 3 of these gold mines are exposed, and this could call for towering from Mr. Yo. Because, you know, Mr. Yo likes to grab the opportunity to play towers. If he's going to scout this, especially if he plays with Man-at-Arms, Man-at-Arms towers can be very, very good here for Yo. He sees 2 of his gold mines, sees the 3rd one as well, knows about the stone over here. So he's got a very, very detailed scouting already done. We'll look for his opponent at this part of the map. Once again, the players spawn pretty closely to each other over here. So in this case, however, Viper is not going to attempt to lane. He's just going to pushing the deer as much as possible. Malian's 4 on wood for Viper, that seems like a drush to me. Because I think Nili said that Viper generally puts 3 on wood for the most cases. And the fact that you do 4 on wood with Malians that even have cheaper buildings implies that probably Viper wants to have a lot of wood at the beginning, and the only reason why you would do that, or why you would want that, is to drop a fast barracks, potentially with this Voyager. Let's see, Lady is coming into the berries, so this could still be a mill, but this doesn't actually prevent Viper from adding a barracks early on. If this is 4 on wood, I mean, it could still be a standard like drush into archers or standard men-at-arms play, as Yo is going to eat a lot of the TC fire. So with that, the point is that there is the barracks for Viper. This is a little bit faster than you normally see the barracks being dropped. Like, usually villager number 17 is the one that is making the barracks, so this is like 10-15 seconds faster than that for Viper. But still, pretty much ends up being a standard drush, probably a drush into archers here for the Snake. Technically, if he feels comfortable walling his base like this, I could imagine a drush FC, but I feel like drush into archers is just a lot more legitimate play with this type of map for the Snake. Alright. So Viper did push in the majority of his huntables, and when you do that, you probably want to have either like a fast feudal age, or you want to potentially go for a fast castle. I don't think that Viper is going to fast castle here. And I don't think that he should. But pushing in 2 deers is definitely going to be either a relatively fast feudal age for him, or he's going to think about an FC. This map is not good for FC, so it should be a relatively fast feudal. Let's take a look at Viper's POV. He knows basically nothing about Mr. Yo's base. Yo is gonna play with what appears to be a standard man-at-arms play here. 22 pop, goes for 2 Voyagers on gold. Barracks is down already, so this is probably going to be 22 pop standard man-at-arms for Mr. Yo. Whereas for Viper, his militias will arrive just now. He's gonna go for Loom, and yeah, indeed, this is looking like a Drush Archers play from the Viper. Now, his Drush could do some damage on the gold mine, but it's not a lot. It appears that he's able to steal some goats from Yo, but at the end of the day, Yo is going to find them, so Yo will try to get them back. 1 militia pops out from Mr. Yo, trying to help out against the scout of Viper. And let's see, is Yo just gonna take the hunts? Yes, he will. Viper comes in with the militias. Now, remember that Celtic militias can run away from the opponent's militias here, so Yo can just say, okay, I don't want to fight right now, I will just run away. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. In fact, he's adding a 4th militia in case there is a fight that could happen. And I think for now, Yo just needs to run. He's gonna have better feudal age time than his opponent does, and this is one of the big advantages that you get with Celts. You can pick the fights that you're taking with your infantry at the beginning of the game, which is super helpful. You can see that Viper is trying, but he's unable to catch up with Yo's army. He's going to bring in a 4th militia here, and not a bad idea from Yo, because if he feels like this is just a drush and he just wants to deal with it, it's better to add a 4th militia for 60 food, 20 gold, or something like that, compared to getting the man-at-arms upgrade in, which is a lot more expensive. So if he lost these man-at-arms in this fight, he wouldn't have gone for the man-at-arms upgrade. Since he still has a lot of HP, the man-at-arms upgrade here can be justified, and those man-at-arms will be able to be a little bit annoying on the berries of the Viper. You're already dropping the range, and the players are very close to each other here, so that pretty much means that Yo can reinforce the front line with archers very easily. Viper turns around and takes this fight against the scout, but Viper has to evacuate his berries. There is 2 archer ranges coming up from Viper. Yo probably sees that, so wouldn't be surprised to see skirms being added at the beginning. Viper with double bit axe on the way, whereas there is no double bit axe for Yo, so he's going for a huge aggression here. Loses the scout here, that's a little bit sloppy from Mr. Yo. But on the other hand, the skirmisher can start harassing the gold miners. Remember, as I said, if Yo sees the opportunity to be aggressive, he will grab it. And it appears he's got some TC idle time. You can pretty much harass that Voyager and prevent the Veil from repairing the walls. Viper will have to add another layer of wall here. Not looking great for the Snake. He's getting the main archers out. But what makes Celtic Man-at-Arms amazing is that they are actually able to chase down archers. As long as Viper doesn't have 2 or 3 archers he can micro away, this is not gonna work. And he is not gonna have those archers because he doesn't have gold. That's all he has. He will have 1 more archer. So as long as Yo is just sitting here with his skirms and the Man-at-Arms, Viper is not gonna have any gold income. You can see Viper is going back to gold as fast as possible because he knows exactly he needs more archers. I'm somewhat surprised that Yo is not engaging. He's probably waiting for fletching, but this gives some precious time for Viper to squeeze out 1 or 2 more archers from those ranges. Takes the fight right now. And once again, Viper is gonna be harassed, but I think now Viper could be fine because he's got enough gold to deal with the Man-at-Arms using archers. Before that, that could have been a little bit more dangerous. Yo is still without double bit axe. Remember, he's Celt, so he can delay double bit axe and still have the same wood income as other civilizations do. And he's gonna go for fast padded archer armor. So this is a planned aggression from Yo. He didn't forget the Man-at-Arms upgrade or the double bit axe upgrade. He just delays it intentionally so he can get his archer upgrades in. Viper is with fletching, but no archer armor. Viper is going to rush up a stable, but one thing that Viper might not expect is the Man-at-Arms looping around. He's too busy dealing with this aggression over here, and I like that Viper's attention will be split here by Mr. Yo. He's bringing in the Man-at-Arms. That Villager is trapped over there. Viper loses 1, and it could be a lot more being killed here. At least it's a large amount of idle time on the Villagers on the wood line, and now Yo can just pressure this mining camp. Yo forced off Viper from gold. Now, let's see if Yo expects the scouts being added. Being honest, I don't think that the scouts alone will decide a lot. But, oh, that's actually bad for Yo. He's gonna lose a militia. But once again, no berries for Viper, no gold. Not looking great for the Snake. He's gonna have the scouts, but since the distance between the 2 players is super close and Celts even have faster wooing infantry, Mr. Yo can bring in a spearman very fast to defend against this one. If this was Yo here, it would take a lot more time for Yo to bring in a spearman to defend. That's the problem right now for Viper. That Yo can bring in a spearman very fast to defend against this one. Right now Viper is not showing his hand. He is just playing with the scouts. Will probably go for a counterattack, but it's 3 scouts. 1 of them are low HP, and now I think Yo is about to see the scouts. He knows exactly what's up. Meanwhile, dives in. Viper is still without the archer armor, so Yo can be happily taking these fights right now. Scouts just running around. The spearman is going to get picked off by Viper's archers, and apparently Viper wants to loop around, as it appears that indeed that's the plan for Viper. Comes in here with the scouts. Yo should make another spearman and just send it back over here, as Viper is going to counterattack with the archers, but this is way better for Yo. He's got a 2 Voyagers advantage right now, with no wheelbarrow on either side. And he also has a persistent eco bonus with the Celtic lumberjacking bonus. The wall was finished just in time. Archers still coming in here to deal with this one. But once again, I think Yo is in a better spot. 15 to 16 is the food Voyager count. Viper will also be forced to make a defensive tower over here. So even though Yo didn't do any flashy damage to his opponent, I feel like what Yo did was enough to give him a good long-term advantage, even though Yo also made a defensive tower on his gold mine. So, right now it's a lot of scrims for Viper. He did invest less into his military upgrades, but look at Yo's food count. Yo's food count is up in the skies. He didn't really want to go for a lot of villagers on gold, so just went for pretty much 4 skirms. And Viper's gonna have a big army here, but what is he gonna do with that? There's absolutely no way Viper gets through these walls if Yo finishes them in time, and I think he will. So Yo can just sit back, chill, go towards Castle Age, and that's exactly what Yo has on his mind. He's gonna queue up 1 more Voyager until he gets the gold to click up, but then it is Castle Age click up for Mr. Yo. And he will probably add the stable, considering that his opponent is full of skirmishers, and go for knights and try to push it that way. probably forward Siege Workshop and try to contest the gold mine. Viper is not far away from clicking up to Castle Age himself, but he's going to be like a minute or so delayed. Like the stone wall behind this one for Yo as well. Pretty beautifully done. And Viper did think about running inside over here, but then he changed his mind. For now, it seems impossible for Viper to have a better Castle Age time than Yo, of course, because Yo already clicked up. Nice macro from Viper, by the way, as he is forcing a lot of idle time from Yo at trying to repair those walls, trying to add second layers. So it's a nice performance from Viper over here, harassing the farmers as well. He might pick off a villager as well. That's nice from Viper. Beautiful. And Yo did lose quite a lot of skirms here, despite the fact that he does have the armor and Viper does not. But this should still be an advantage for Yo. It's a minute difference in between the Castle Age times of the two players. Archer armor is just coming in for Viper, but indeed it's a double stable play now for Mr. Yo. And the good news for Viper is that he probably expects this one to happen, and he's gonna go for double stable camels immediately. So this should be better in the long run for Viper, because the camel play from Malians should be able to deal with the Knight's play. So if Yo is playing this smart, he starts queuing up pikemen, and he goes Knight and pikeman with Scouts. For now, Yo doesn't really have a lot of map control, and Viper is kind of cornering him in here. There is the two stables, Castle Age is in for Yo. Immediately are coming the Knights, and the other option to deal with the camels would be some monks. This is a little bit ambitious from Yo, getting that Siege Workshop up there on the middle of the field. He's just trying to divert Viper's forces here, so Viper will not spot that, but there's a chance Viper is going to see it. He's going to pull the scouts back. I think he's looking for the forward. He might be doing that because you know it's going to be a forward from Celts in this situation. And that Siege Workshop is going to go up. There is no way it does not go up. And it hurts for Viper that he's losing the skirmishers, because these skirms would have been super useful at dealing with pikemen at the beginning. Because if Yo keeps adding spearmen like he does against the scouts, but more importantly against the camels, then Viper is going to struggle against them, and the fact that most of the skirms are dead hurts very badly here for Viper. So there's still some archers from Mr. Yo that are also acceptable against the camels. Camels don't really have a great pierce armor. So tricky micro over here. The key for Yo is to finish off the skirmishers of his opponent and then press on with the Celtic spears, monks and knights. He's gonna have better Castle Age time. So Scorpion first, and a second Scorpion on the way as well, interestingly, instead of a Mangonel, let's say. But right now, this is, I think, a better situation for Yo. He's gonna have two Scorpions out here. He's gonna have Mangonels on the way as well. This is looking good. This is looking very, very good for Mr. Yo. Even though this fight is somewhat disadvantageous, nice micro from Viper picking off the Monk. I think Yo needs the pikeman upgrade. If he has the pikeman upgrade, he's going to be perfectly fine here. But without the pikeman, this might not be good enough, because his spearmen aren't great. He just friendly fired one of his spearmen, and the Viper is getting the kill on the Mangonel. I think Yo needs the pikeman upgrade, and he needs to push pike and siege here, because Viper made a complete switch back into knights and camels, and he's not gonna beat that with knights and spearmen. He needs pikeman for that. Early monks are nice against the camels, but ultimately the camels will just overrun the knights. Just one or two monks aren't really going to change that. Now Yo could drop a second town center very soon. He's got the wood for it and he's got the stone for it. Would love to see a TC over here, for example, that also solidifies his control over this part of the map. And let's see, for Yo, he keeps adding spearmen, but no pikemen just yet from him, as he's gonna take the hill, try to mango this down. Those mangonels are super unprotected, and we have seen this in the previous game from Yo as well, that he doesn't really protect his mangonels. If he had pikemen here, I would say he's okay against that many camels, but Viper has a lot of camels over here, and we are talking about 7 spearmen from Yo. Now, if that monastery goes down, this actually turns out to be a little bit more interesting, and Yo is gonna have some monks in the party as well. And here comes pikeman. I think if pikeman finishes, Viper is in trouble, because what is he gonna do against the Mangonel and pike push? He doesn't really have anything to deal with that right now. Apparently the Knights Viper is sending to loop around aren't really going to achieve a lot. Yo is going to clean them up. Viper is going to have bloodlines on those, but there is +1/+1 for Yo. I think Viper might have lamed the farm, but that's basically it. Here come the camels. Vululu, Vululu, say the monk. And that's an awful fight for Yo. How many times did I say that he's not protecting his mangonels well enough? That being said, that is still most of the camels going down because camels are absolutely abysmal versus pikemen. And yes, technically that's a win for Viper because he took down the siege weapons. Realistically speaking, Viper is about to lose all his army, and it's much easier for Yo to replenish the army. For whatever reason, Yo is going for Scorpions, which makes zero sense to me here. I don't know why he's going Scorpions. Like, if he went for Mangonels, he could contest that tower and contest the gold mine, but he keeps adding Scorpions. Scorpions would be nice against the pikemen, but what's the point of making Scorpions with Celts against Malians here? That is a knight sniping. Nope, no snipe. That's a conversion from Viper. I feel like Yo isn't playing perfect here. In fact, he should be winning this one easily. Like, if this was 2 Mangonels instead of these 2 Scorpions, you would be talking about Viper losing his gold mine already. Viper is, by the way, on 2 town centers, adding the 3rd one, whereas for Yo, he is playing with 2 town centers right now, adding the 3rd one just as well. Voyager count is slightly in the favor of the Viper, but that difference is just very, very minor, and you are going to see why that ram is completely useless and just a bad decision from Yo. He's now making a Mangonel. Boom, 1 shot and 2 shots. There is 1 conversion on Knight because you have to dive into trying to snipe those Mangonels. You're going to lose at least 1 Knight. Viper trying to keep that Mangonel alive, and it seems to be working for him right now. All the Voyagers committed to keeping that Mangonel alive. And once again, a disastrous push from Yo. Oh, where are the Scorpions at? They're just not doing anything. And another battering ram from Yo. I'm scratching my head massively. Yo is an amazing player, but sometimes he has some stupid moves. I mean, you all saw what was the destiny of that first ram, right? What's the purpose of having another one over here when your opponent clearly has Mangonels to deal with them? And now, Monk's getting picked off. Like, Yo is doing everything he can to lose this game. Because right now that's basically the case. He has all 3 of Viper's gold mines in his face. All he needs to do is just go pike and siege. Like, by siege I mean Mangonel. Now that there is no Mangonel support, the ram will actually be useful. But if Viper had another Mangonel here, he would be fine. So, Viper, on the other hand, he does have a lot of stone in the bank, so he could consider dropping a castle, but that castle is not good from Viper. As much as I was bashing Mr. Yo for his rather sloppy play here on the front line, this castle for Viper protects the stone, but how is he gonna get gold? I have no idea. Viper is not gonna have gold, and you know what's gonna happen? Yo is going to drop a castle over here. Right over here. Because Yo is getting stone with 10, and Viper could be down by 2 games here. He can sell a stone for a short amount of time, but that's not a long-term solution. That's by far not a long-term solution. And, like, when you're selling stone, the prices are slowly going down. This is not gonna hold off against an assault like this. I think, it's very tough because you can't place your castle over here. So, maybe for Viper... Oh, Viper doesn't see that gold mine. I think this would have been a good spot for a castle. Because then he can take the gold mine. He's looking for the gold mine right now. But... even then, he's gonna have 3 tiles of gold to play around with that can be raided very easily by Mr. Yo. Mr. Yo even sees the gold mine, so I'm somewhat surprised that Yo isn't sending knights over there. And here it comes. I think Viper is dead. He's gonna lose the entire base here. And he has a Mangonel queued up, but even if that pops out and kills a few Voyagers, this is a castle that's gonna go up, I believe. Because the knights are gonna dive in, and Viper is not going to be able to keep that Mangonel alive as long as he wants it to. And this castle will definitely go up. Viper will expand towards this gold mine now that he has found it with the gold mine, with Nurse, and he's gonna drop a TC on it. But it doesn't matter that you have gold income if you have just lost the entire base of yours, because that's basically what's happening. And in addition, Yo can start making Void Raiders. That is basically the tech switch that he wants to make from Castle to Imperial. And Look at that, he's even stealing Viper's gold, something that he loves to do, taking down the barracks. And this way, Viper is gonna lose this TC as well, and he has to evacuate his food eco. That's what hurts most for Viper here. Because, yes, Viper's gonna have gold, nice. But what this does is that Viper has to relocate his entire food eco, and this is going to delay his imp time. Yo could consider idling his TCs for some time to go imp, and trap this castle down once he sees that. There's a huge battles from Viper. Are they going to achieve anything? Probably not. Like, they are super fragile, no upgrades on them. They aren't even able to snipe villagers from outside the range of the town centers. So, in comparison, Yo has the knights, Yo has the rams, the mangonels. He is just absolutely stomping Viper right now. So, this isn't looking great for the Snake, and indeed, Viper is going to be beaten into Imperial as well. Yo is probably gonna click up very, very soon. And when he sees that castle, he will just take his time, get his traps out, trap that castle down, and just force Viper to run away. For now, Yo is also gonna have a lot more mobility right now. With Knights, with Void Raiders, he will just run around and start raiding the eco of Viper. Viper is trying to move to the right side, but the problem here for Viper is that he's going to run out of that gold pile super soon. Like, that's the only gold mine that Viper is gonna have. He might try taking this one, but I think Yo will probably see that. Nope, Yo doesn't see that. That's actually a little bit sloppy from Yo. He needs to scout this part of the map because he's playing gold denial, which requires that you see the gold mines on the map and deny them, you know. Still, it takes so much time for Viper to just relocate his eco. This is all idle time. All these villagers running and rebuilding the farms. These farms are pretty much wasted farms. So, the rebuilding takes so much resources away from Viper. His villager count is still okay. The problem is that he just needs to rebuild so hard. He's gonna go for scale mail armor, so chances are we are going to see champ scars, but they are pretty much going to die to the Void Raiders. And even if they don't, Celts have their own champions. Celts have great siege in Imperial, so they can go onagers to deal with the champ scars. And Viper is not gonna be in Imperial anytime soon, although his resources aren't looking that bad. But his gold count is going to be a concern very soon. And as I said, Imperial Age is coming in for Yo here. And also, Viper is losing a lot. I like that Yo is destroying that university, because that is going to deny Viper from getting chemistry. Same thing for the blacksmiths. This is intentional, and I like this. This delays Viper's tech switch. In fact, Viper might lose this building before Chainmail comes in. Nope, Chainmail is gonna finish, I think, just before this blacksmith is destroyed. But if Viper was going into Imperial, let's say, and Yo would be afraid of hand cannoneers or bombard cannons, destroying the university means that you can delay your opponent from going into bombard cannons, let's say. Meanwhile, indeed, Yo is just gonna go for mass scorpions. Viper is castling multiple heals, and he is going for the gold mine. Yo knows about the gold mine, so I guess he's gonna move over there. He's going to drop a castle. I think he might want to drop a castle here. Very, very aggressive castle, as Yo is gonna start making traps over here. He's got 1.5k food in the bank. The problem for Viper is that he doesn't have a good army here. It's just a few huge battles, and that's it. And also, remember, Viper has to rebuild the university, Viper has to rebuild the blacksmith to get the upgrades in there from those. Whereas Yo is gonna get a castle in here. Apparently, this is a switch back into what will be Farimba Light Cav from Viper. Not necessarily a bad idea, but this will be spotted by Yo, and eventually he will have the time to react. Remember, Viper doesn't have a lot of gold, but one unit that can be super useful when you don't have gold is Farimba Light Cav. The problem is that, on the other hand, Yo can start making Void Raiders once he has like 2 or 3 traps up, and he can start trapping these castles down like a madman. Now, this is going to be a 2 versus 1 castle fight here. In the favor of Viper. Yo knows about both castles, and he's gonna have the heal and he's gonna have the advantage. Going into Imperial, nice trap over there for Viper, but there is still one hole. So the Knights are in, not really going to do a lot of damage, but they cause some idle time. Yo sees it clearly that Viper is very low on gold on those gold mines, and Yo knows about the other gold mine as well. I think Yo also knows that this is going to be a light cap switch, because that's the only thing Viper can afford right now with the little gold that he has. There's 3 traps here for Yo, and just take down the TCs, cripple the food eco, as much as possible. That is the target for Mr. Yo. He apparently is going for the other castle from this angle, but then he just needs to kind of cripple the food eco. I don't know what this monk is doing. He's just sending a monk in here to convert a villager, and he converts a villager. Yo just converted a villager here. Heavy Scorpion, a little bit interesting as a unit. We don't really see that very often, and it appears that Viper wants to go with like Jbero and Forimba Light Cav. Here come the Light Cav. And being honest, Yo doesn't really have a lot of units that can deal with light cavs, but this can just be a slow hub and siege push that just destroys Viper as it is. Viper doesn't really have a lot of stables to mass produce those light cavs at, missing quite a lot of upgrades as well. Furor Celtica on the way for Mr. Yo, and remember that if Yo loses this castle, there is no Forimba. And without Forimba, those light cavs aren't amazing. Viper's Jbero is getting absolutely shredded by these Scorpions over here, so it's still 41 to 19 military in this one. And indeed, Viper taps out. He knows exactly he's not gonna stop this anymore with Halberdiers, with Trebs pushing. He's not gonna get Forimba, and without Forimba, those light cavs are pretty garbage, especially against Celtic Halberdiers. Yo, up 2 games versus Viper, and as I said, this is the upper part of the bracket, super tough. Yo, Leary, Viper, and Hero over there, and it wouldn't be unprecedented to see Mr. Yo beating Viper without losing a game, but I'm pretty sure Viper has a plan here. But so far, Yo has been outplaying him in both games, and that's a little bit concerning, especially considering that I believe that Yo's push here in Castle Age wasn't even amazing. If he went for Mangonels instead of Scorpions and Rams, that would have been an even more destructive push that forces Viper away from his gold mine. And when that happens, or if that happens, Viper would have been without gold for a lot longer. So, Viper could be eliminated by Mr. Yo once again. Viper had some amazing tournament performances in KOTD. Like, one of the best games, or one of the best games that Viper has played in his career, I think, was in KOTD 3. He had some amazing games, like, against multiple people in the tournament, like Back-T, the way that after losing game number 1, he just absolutely destroyed Back-T. He also defeated, who was it? He defeated the Max, right? Yeah, he defeated the Max in, the group stage as well. Viper went into the quarterfinals with a 6-1 record in the group stage, in a group where you had Dogao, Max, and Back-T. This means that Viper 3-0'd Max. Well, it's the same Max that got 3-0'd by Dogao, though. Wait, no, that was 3-1. But still, 3-0ing Max is kind of a show of force, I would say. And it really shows that Viper is really doing good. So I'm somewhat surprised that Yo is stomping him this hard. Because it's one thing to lose to Yo, but the other thing is that in both games, Yo was just a little bit more convincing than Viper overall. So, speaking of convincing, let's take a look at the draft of the players. We will have Celts removed from Yo, and if the tendency continues and he is just coming from left to right, Incas will be next. And Viper loses Malians. I don't know what to do if you're Viper here, but I would technically say that I think Viper might need to go Lithuanians here. Lithuanians is the type of civ that even if you underperform with, you are still going to have some pretty good results. If you can bring in 1 or 2 relics, something that Viper really likes to put an emphasis on anyways, then you are just gonna have a so strong push with those knights. And because of that, I believe that this is the moment for Viper to bring out the Lithuanians or Mayans. Technically, Berbers or Ethiopians could be a possibility here as well, but I think he wants to play safe. Other option for him, as I said, is that he goes kind of one of his hidden strategies that he was saving up for moments where he feels like he's behind. And we are gonna have the Relic War, ladies and gentlemen, Lithuanians for Viper and Yo with Aztecs. That's a strong one, I have to say. We're going to have the Viper 2 games deficit in the KOTD3 quarterfinals. We will have Viper Red Lithuanians on the right side in yellow with a rather fortunate relic spawn. I have to say 3 relics in pretty good distance for him. On the other side is Mr. Yo with Aztecs, one of the powerhouse civilizations of the game. This is a rather bad gold mine spawn for Mr. Yo in terms of elevation, but it's at the back, so this is still nice. These goats are kind of hiding over there. They're accessible because there's a tile gap in between the wood line and the goats, so this is definitely not a bugged map, or at least not from this aspect. Mr. Yo's map isn't that super amazing, but it's not bad either. Has wood lines at the back, has gold mines at the back. Viper is lurking around with his scout. Yo will have all his sheep though. Look at that. 2 sheep here, 2 sheep here. This should be all of the sheep for Mr. Yo. And one of the elephants are here, the other one is over there. Yo does have vision on both, so he is going to see if Viper is going to steal those. Very unlikely that Viper will succeed in a laming attempt. Other side, Viper does have gold at the back. Berries at the back is nice as well. Stones are quite unfortunate for him. So, oh, look at this early loom here for Yo. I'm not sure what to think about this one. This is a super early loom here for Mr. Yo. Goes with only 2 on wood. Interesting idea from Yo. What is the plan? Why is he making this fast loom? It could be because he wants to lure in both elephants fast, but I don't think that justifies a fast loom. Maybe he thought, or maybe he saw Viper's scout and he thought Viper might be trying to lame him in terms of blocking a villager. And because of this, he thought, okay, I'm gonna go loom just for the sake of safety. Viper is not gonna find anything to lame here, so he's just gonna go back home. Turns around at the worst possible time because he was close to that elephant. Other side, Viper is bringing in his own elephant. Right now he has a 1 villager lead because he didn't go for loom just yet. And looking at Viper's base, this is actually an okay map as well. I think the 2 maps are rather even. So the tricky thing at dealing with Aztecs is that they have an amazing eco. They're extremely versatile. Wasn't Mr. Yo out? He was housed for 1 or 2 seconds. Didn't really matter. It's the loom difference in between the 2 players. Actually, there's a 1.5 minutes difference. So the half villagers that you see is the housed time. There is going to be a 1 villager difference until Viper gets loom here. But there is actually 1.5. You can see that like 30% behind he is. So if you count 30% for 25 seconds, that's approximately 8 seconds of idle time for Yo, which means that he was housed for about 7-8 seconds in this game. Anyways, Viper is gonna bring in his second elephant a little bit too early. He's still consuming the other one, but I guess he didn't want Yo to lame it. And Viper gonna do some walls on the left side of the map. As for now, this is a rather peaceful, what is going to be a scouts build. 18 pop, this is the same thing that he did in the previous game. Just like with Mongols, you can have a very fast feudal here with Lithuanians, but it turns out that he's not gonna have the food to do it, so he will have to add 1 more villager and go 19 pop. Yo trying to snipe a villager over here. Even with loom, that villager is damaged, but Yo will bail out on that attempt. Viper is going back, so Yo could just try and come back and pick that villager off. So let's see, 19 pop for a Viper and adding 1 more will. At the end of the day, that might have been just a security loom to make sure he doesn't lose a villager, and he will probably pay 20 pop here. Walls himself off quite nasty, but he doesn't have a lot of wood, and Yo could easily go and tower if he wants to. On the other side, Mr. Yo will also wall himself off here. Will click up to feudal age, at least at 21 pop, could be 22. Didn't go for a drush or anything, so this might be straight archers or man-at-arms play. Most likely to be man-at-arms, apparently. So, Viper will be fully walled, and he is gonna be fine with the exception of the stone, and that is something that Yo could think about. Let's take a look at Yo's scouting. Yo sees the wood line, sees the other wood line. He doesn't know how Viper is walling though, but he could believe that there is a chance for towering. If you land the tower here, that's actually an amazing spot, because you are gonna have a stone mine over here and a wood line over here. You can deny that one with a single tower. That's basically it. And then Viper is gonna struggle getting a lot of wood for himself. He will have to transition to this wood line, but that's again easy to deny. So let's see what Yo is going for. Yo is going for 22 pop, and that indeed is a Man-at-Arms play from a Aztec player. He's trying to push in an ostrich over here before he finishes the walls. I really like it that he just keeps pushing in the ostriches even after clicking up. Every bit of advantage he can grab is going to be extremely important. Viper playing with scouts, but as I said before, I feel like a fully walled Man-at-Arms player is pretty much the answer to the scouts play of your opponent, because basically the Man-at-Arms can pressure the opponent's base, and he either cleans them up with scouts or he's gonna have to leave them be. But if he cleans them up with scouts, he's gonna lose his precious scout numbers. So I actually like Mr. Yo's play here quite nicely. He's even gonna bring in the eagle to get some damage done. And indeed, here comes the Man-at-Arms upgrade, something that is so good as a build order for Aztecs. On the other hand, Viper adding scouts. Viper's base is safe, so he's fine. I wonder if Yo is gonna pull villagers to make towers. It doesn't appear like it, and now he's adding 4 villagers to gold. So this is going to be a Man-at-Arms Archers play now. Something that I actually like better than Viper's scouts play, to be honest. Viper will probably try to play scouts into knights here, because eventually he wants to get to knights. As now Yo sees the scouts here. Viper does land a shot on top of that eel, but that's it. Spearman on the way immediately for Mr. Yo. Looking at the scouting, that's important to point out. Yo has a pretty poor scouting, and that's actually very bad against the Lithuanian player, because you want to make sure that you see those relics and you can take them before the Lithuanian player does. Other side, look at Viper. He's using one of his scouts to just scout the map for relics. He's going to see 2 already. And he doesn't even know about the third one over here. Those are the relics that Viper can like legitimately take, and what Viper should take. Now it's an eagle, spearman here as well. Walls are broken, but it doesn't really matter right now. So more spearmen on the way. Let's see, is Yo just gonna boom up into Castle Age here? Because that could very well be the plan. I don't see Yo adding any archer ranges for archers. So it could just be Man-at-Arms trying to be annoying against Viper here, and then just going to go up into Castle Age. Because Aztec Eco is going to be better than the Lithuanian one. Now, Yo needs to watch out not to potentially overpick those berries. There is a spearman inside the barracks, so Viper will have to run away. That's 5 scouts with full HP, pretty dangerous. Here, Viper, for himself, he sees 2 relics. He actually sees the third one, and I think Viper is going to take that relic if he has the chance to do so, but it hurts for him that he does not see this one. Yo can once again pull a villager to make those repairs, and those units shouldn't get in. And now Viper is adding skirms. I think he's expecting Yo to go archers, so this is a tricky scenario for Mr. Yo. Like, he cannot really go archers if Viper is already going skirms, and now he's making eagles. The problem with the eagle switch here for Mr. Yo is that, like, a Man-at-Arms into eagles play, even though that's like a legit build order, against the Knights civilization, it isn't working. Because Knights will just clap the eagles. So, I don't like this. Yo could use his eagle to try and finish off those skirmishers, so he can keep his Man-at-Arms alive for the time being. And indeed, Yo is adding a lot of eagles here. This might be like a mixture of eagles and pikes, and try to push in castle with that. That could be an idea. Like eagle and pike combined, maybe even with a monastery, could be a decent idea. Alright, I think that this is the moment where Yo is gonna have to take this fight. Spearman is dead, so indeed Yo has no other choice. He is going to lose some of the Man-at-Arms. In fact, he's gonna lose all of them. Damages some of the scouts from Viper. I think that's the best he could get out of those. man-at-arms, but Viper had to invest a lot into the skirms and the scouts, and you can see that there is a significant difference between the food count of Yo and Viper, partially because Viper had to invest very, very significantly into his scouts and skirms in Feudal. On the other hand, now those skirms could deny second layering, so Yo has to watch out. Yo is on the way to Castle Age though. He is without horse colors, so those farms will eventually hurt, and his base is super, super small. But Castle Age, like, having faster Castle Age here would mean that he's gonna get Eagle Warriors out fast, and when that happens, he will be able to just overrun Viper's Feudal Age units here with those. Like, I don't like the man-at-arms into Eagle's play here, but the win condition for them is to be able to get a faster Castle Age than your opponent, and make sure you can do damage with those Eagles before your opponent gets his Knights out. So, there's a second barracks. Viper clearly sees this. So he knows exactly what's up, and Viper could also try to, like, deny the wood line. Instead, he's trying to bash his way in here. Yo could try to react with houses and wall behind. Viper on the way to Castle Age indeed. Yo is going for triple barracks. He needs to mix in some spears, because Eagles alone will be clapped by Knights, that's for sure. Nice defense from Yo so far. One thing that gives him an advantage here is that he is gonna have Eagle numbers by the time he reaches Castle Age, whereas for Viper, he is just going to start producing Scout or Knights when he reaches Castle. Now, Yo, that's a weak house. He needs to pull a lot more Villagers. Viper gets in there. This is actually very, very bad for Mr. Yo right now. Those scouts don't really have a huge amount of upgrades, but that is -1 Voyager from Mr. Yo. Nice quick walls from Yo. Very, very nice quick walls from Mr. Yo here. And remember, those Eagles will be upgraded to Eagle Warriors very soon. So I think that Yo still is in an acceptable position. Spear are coming in here, and Viper might try to disengage, tries to lure the Spearman into the Skirmisher fire. But still, that's a lot of Spearmen to deal with, and now that the scouts are dead, Viper is gonna lose this entire army over here. And Eagle Warrior is on the way for Mr. Yo. So, still, you need something to deal with those Knights, because you will definitely see Knights from Viper here immediately, and Knights will just decimate those Eagle numbers. So, I would say that Yo needs Pikemen upgrade, potentially. If he gets Pikeman upgrade, I'm actually confident that he's gonna have the advantage in this game. Without it, I'm not so convinced. But that's a lot of Eagles already. Let's see what Viper is planning. He wants a monastery out here so he can convert back the Knights. Basically, he doesn't want to convert the Eagles. He wants to convert the Knights that you are converting. That's basically the plan. Yo is deciding by a monastery to deal with the Knights. I'm not a big fan of that because you can't keep up the pace with double stable production over here. So this is going to be pretty tough. On the bright side of things, Yo will have a very, very good chance of sniping monks from his opponent. Plus, he can also scout the map very fast with his army. And that helps very, very heavily when you're trying to stop your opponent from grabbing the relics. But this is why Eagles alone aren't gonna work. 2 Knights absolutely decimating 2 Eagles here. So, yeah, I think that you still need pikemen. There is scout coming in here to try and snipe a monk. Nice quick fall from Mr. Yo. Trying to finish off the scout indeed to make sure that the monk will have a free time killing or converting those knights. There is a lot of idle time on the barracks of Mr. Yo, so his eco is actually unsuitable for mass production of eagles. And he did convert 1 knight already, but now that monk is without monk juice, so you need to run back. And remember, Viper could start picking up relics. This is why it's so hard to play against Lithuanians. If you are, like, you can't just play defensive against Lithuanians. You have to be attacking. If you don't attack, you are going to fall behind in relic count and you are dead. That's basically it. So, Yo is playing way too passive in my perspective here. I think he should have mixed in some pikemen and try to push Viper. Maybe even forward siege workshop, because right now Viper has all the time in the world to mass the knights, and knights will destroy Yo's eagles. And 2 monks aren't going to stop an army of 10, 15, 20 knights. I don't like Yo's idea here. I don't like Yo's idea at all. Not just against the Viper, against any player. I don't like that he's playing it this way. Anyways, We are gonna have Knights trying to bash their way in here, unsuccessful so far, but once again, the Monks are so slow at catching up. By the time they get here, the Knights will just run away. Yo will try to catch up game here, but like how? I'm not sure. He's gonna drop a TC here, I'm pretty sure, at some point. Indeed, here comes the town center. He's going to be at 3 TCs and his eco is still going to be better. But he cannot afford to give Viper all those relics. Viper is at 1 relic already, bringing in the second one, bringing in the third one very soon. I think Yo is just throwing away this game. Like, how many times do we need to see Lithuanians destroying everything with their Knights and Cavaliers to understand that you can't play defensive against Lithuanians? Of course, Yo could just say, oh yeah, I'm playing for the late game, but let's be honest. You either need to win the Relic War against Lithuanians, or you can pretty much just call it a GG. Because there is no way Yo is gonna stop an army with 3 relics for Lithuanians very soon. That's the third one for Viper. And I think Viper is actually going to, or at least trying to take the other 2. Once again, I don't like Yo's playstyle here. Like, look at all the scouting Yo has. If there was a relic here, Yo could pick it up. Nope. He is giving it to Viper. He's giving all this territory for Viper to take relics at. He doesn't keep 1 eagle here, for example. He doesn't send 1 eagle here to check if there's a relic here. So, I really don't like that Yo is just not contesting the relics. And we know that if you don't contest the relics, you're going to die against Lithuanians. There's 1 knight converted, but I think both monks lost their fate. So that is going to be 1 monk getting killed for a price of 2 knights and 1 converted, it's fine. Now, where is Viper's knights at? Viper's having his knights back at home, and imagine if Yo had some more pikemen. The pikemen would absolutely destroy Viper's knights, and now the eagles are inside. One thing that you could do is try to just raid Viper's eco, but I think this is too far gone for that. This is far too gone. It's 3 relics, so when these knights come back home, Yo is gonna lose his army. And then Yo is dead, because Yo is gonna have nothing. Overall, the meta turns into eagles play is not something that you want to do against a knight player, and even more so, not controlling the relics. Viper is at 3 relics. GG. This is over. I don't think that Yo can do anything to stop Viper now. It's 3 relics for Viper at the minimum. Yo is going to bring in 1, but he has no idea about this one. Viper is missing out on that as well, so Yo might get lucky this way. But Yo is going to lose his entire army. There is no way you stop +3 knights here. We have seen this multiple times in the tournament. Even +2 attack is very decisive, but +3 crosses that threshold where you don't even need to worry about pikemen anymore. Because you have so big attack here. Maybe heal advantage pikemen could work. But look at this fight. Okay, now Viper is not taking that, but technically we have seen +3 knights just beating up pikemen here. So Yo needs to go for full pikemen, but then Viper can just go hand cannon. Viper can add skirms pretty easily, or even crossbows. Just a few crossbows here and Viper or Yo is dead. Indeed, there is the skirms added from Viper. So yes, right now Yo has the pikes. Like, the only thing I can imagine right now for Yo is exactly this one. Like, mass pikeman and then a mangonel push. Because if you can do that, you can kill these early skirmishers and you can kill the knights. Like, flood the map with pikemen, monks, and siege, and target the monastery. That's the plan. Because if you can ungarrison the relics, suddenly Viper is in trouble. And Yo is still fully void, so Viper cannot rate his eco. Sensity on the way for Mr. Yo is gonna mean that those monks will have 50 HP. And the pikemen still have +2 armor. Botkin arrow on the way for Viper. I'm not sure what this villager is doing over here, but this is... that knight has to be deleted from Yo. Finishes off the villager and delete? No delete. He manages to save the knight, but that could have been 1 knight getting converted by Viper. Viper is gonna start mixing elite skirms and a battering ram once again. In this case, I understand the battering ram concept, because it's easier to take down the monastery with that, but that's already a lot of skirmishers. And this is where Yo is like, oh shoot, I should have gone for mangonel. On the other hand, that's already... like, as long as the knights cannot get close to the ram, it's fine for Yo. He's going to start taking this fight, Viper repairing. This is a crucial fight. Converts one knight. That is so huge. This knight can just do so much damage on top of the skirmishers, and now I think Yo is taking over. All he needs to do is just... He got 2 conversions in. He's sending the knights to deal with the skirmishers and sending the knights to deal with the villagers over here, and then your pikeman will be fine. Mangon is on the way for Mr. Yo. Yo is very, very close to winning this game, I believe. Because if the relics on garrison, suddenly Viper is in huge trouble, because he's facing a pike and siege push with knights that have 0 upgrades. Like, actually they have +2 armor, but that's it. And that monastery is slowly going down. That monastery is slowly going down. I think Viper is trying to pull villagers to repair, but you need to kill the spears. And I think Yo is going to yoink all the relics. He's going to take all the relics here. It is going to be a 3-0 unless a miracle happens here for Viper, because he's in huge trouble. How is he going to stop this push? He has like no army to stop this one. He cannot hit Yo's eco, and Yo is going to pick up the 5 relics with Aztecs. That's also going to be a thing. Boom. It goes down, Yo is taking all the relics, and Aztecs with 5 relics is also going to be huge. I really dislike the way that Yo played the map control game, but apparently the pikeman switch came just in time for him. If this pikeman switch is like 3 minutes late, I think that Viper would have had the successful defense here. He came in just in time with the pikeman to make sure that Viper wasn't able to defend. Now it is apparently a knight counterattack, but it's not a lot of knights. It's 8 knights now with 0, +2. And oh man, I mean, that's a lot of monks killed, that's true, but now Viper is losing the skirmishers to the eagles, and more importantly, look at this push. That's what matters right now. Viper has 21 idols with 79 villagers, yes. 79 villagers, 20 idols. Yo has 96 villagers, basically no idols. The micro here is nice from Viper, but is it going to save the game for him? I don't think so, because he's losing the skirmishers, and losing the skirms means that he's going to lose the knights to the pikeman, as Yo could be on the way to an absolutely dominant 3-0. He is killing a few villagers from Yo, but Yo is going to be on the way to Imperial. 98 villagers compared to 83, and Viper just basically no army. Trying to get a castle up here is Viper, but remember, Yo is gonna have 5 relics here, or 4 at least, because he's not taking this one. It's a huge eco lead for Yo. He is ready to click up into Imperial. Indeed, here it goes. And I am sure that these villagers from Yo are going to drop a super aggressive castle. He does see the castle from Viper over here, so there is very likely that we're going to see something like a castle around this region and try to trap it down. Viper is not even close to imping, so that's not gonna work. He has some knights running around, but I think Yo will be able to defend this one. And against the Castle Age Knights, Imperial Age Eagles are just fine. So now Yo doesn't really have to bother with the pikeman anymore, although he could. There is one conversion in, but both monks converted the same knight. You need to keep healing the monk, Yo, to make sure that it survives. Not ideal for Yo over here, but that is going to be one knight converted. That's basically all Viper's army. That's all, and there's a lot of pikemen to deal with. In the meanwhile, indeed, here comes the castle. Yo doesn't even see Viper's forward base over here. If he saw it, this would be dead by now. And there is still a huge eco lead for Yo. Gets multiple barracks in, and remember, the Aztecs with 4 relics will also get a huge gold boost from that. Even any other civilization would have a decent boost from the 4 gold or 4 relics, but having that with Aztecs gives an even bigger advantage for Mr. Yo, who, as you can see, is just adding eagles now. Knowing that Viper doesn't have a lot of knights left to deal with. Viper did have a new monastery build, but now it's just one monk inside with no relics. Boy oh boy. Boy oh boy. As I said, I still disliked how Yo approached this game and tried to go for the eagles. It could have been a lot worse. If Viper adds the skirms a little bit faster, this could have been a lot worse for Yo, but it came just in time, and once again we're seeing that civilizations that have the insane eco can prevail. Aztecs just have absolutely amazing eco. I think Aztecs by far are the civilization that was banned the most. Viper banned Chinese. It's an interesting decision to ban Chinese, and in retrospective, it hurts Viper very, very badly. As Mr. Yo reaches Imperial Age, Viper taps out, and once again, Viper falls to Mr. Yo without winning a single game. It's one thing to fall to Mr. Yo, but it appears that Mr. Yo is the nemesis of Viper over here. The Viper out of the tournament over here in the quarterfinals. And I'm not even sure when was the last time that the Viper actually was eliminated in the tournament in the quarterfinals. It's one thing, like, of course we cannot expect Viper to always perform at the highest level, because that's unfair. Viper is a great player, and he can also have some bad days, he can also have some bad tournaments. But this was a big tournament on the other hand, and I have to say that, like, you can't say Viper didn't prepare for this. Viper probably prepared hundreds of hours for this tournament, because he knows it's a huge tournament. One of the biggest prize pools ever in Age of Empires. So he was definitely well prepared for this. This was just him being outplayed by Mr. Yo, his old nemesis. And Yo is going to be in the semifinals. As I said, I can't even remember when was the last time that we have seen a tournament without Viper in the semifinals. I'm actually going to open this one up as Viper. So let's see, when was the last time that Viper did not finish in the semifinals? The last time that Viper didn't finish in the semifinals was Mangrove Shallows Cup 2019. He was in the quarterfinals, lost to Doubt 4-3. If we are talking about standard tournaments, so something that doesn't use a completely different balance, like Mangrove Shallows did, ECL West Europe 2019 in July, lost to Max 2-1 in the quarterfinals. But if you're talking about like big 1v1 tournaments, he won KOTD 2, he won NAC 2. Really, very rarely he gets eliminated before the semifinals. Like, yeah, if you're talking about like, if you don't count Mangrove Shallows Cup and like the ECL stages where he was still very dominant. In ECL stages he was very dominant. There was just so many stages that yes, he lost one. But if we are talking about just individual tournaments, the last time that Viper did not get into the semifinals was Escape Gaming Masters 2, lost 1-0 to Leary in 2017. Ever since then, basically every tournament he played in, he at least got into the semifinals. Huge surprise over here, especially that he lost 3-0 to Mr. Yo. But it is what it is. Viper says goodbye to the tournament with a quarterfinals finish.